We are the people of People TV.
When you talk about People TV, you talk about public access, where the public can access a voice, a channel to engage. You want to be able to ask your questions. The more you are concerned about what's going on in your community, there's more action to try to confine or fit or script your opinion or your rights. So what freedom of speech is me is the fact that you have unfeathered access to address issues in your policymakers, and you can be free as long as you're decent and in order. You should have a time and a place to do that in. That's what freedom of speech to me is. Where else can I tell that story except on People TV?
I want my People TV, because free speech ain't free.
This medallion means liberty. This medallion, every time I put it around my neck each morning, I think about all the lives that were lost in the civil rights movement. All the innocent people that made it possible for us to register and to vote, and some of us are so damn lazy we won't get up off our butt and register to vote, and then we register to vote and we don't go vote. That's what I think about. There's a whole lot of pain that comes. God bless you.
And now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain. My friend, I'll state it clear. I'll state my case, of which I'm certain. I've lived a life that's full. I've traveled each and every highway and more, much more than this. I did it my way.
Questions that I can't answer.
Regrets.
I got them here, y'all. I got
had a
Sherm in town. I got him.
Then again,
Call in. Ask him some hard, tough questions. Some of you guys who have been over in Fulton
but I
County,
had
tell him the problems that you've seen over there. Come on, call in.
Through without exemption.
Tell him to stop.
Plan.
Tell him to stop.
Each charted course,
You gotta keep moving.
each careful
We need to get
step
it moving.
along the byway, and more. It's more than this.
Violence must stop in Atlanta.
My
Violence,
way.
black on black killing must stop.
Where there was
Numbers are too high. We're
I'm sure you know.
saddened by all of the
When
innocent people who are being killed.
You
Raise the level of consciousness.
do it all.
Martin,
When there
he was here. He would really
I
be
ain't
sad.
had
been over Tell him the
I
problems that you
faced
see.
it all, and I stood tall and did it my way.
As you right now, as a member of the family of Hosea Williams, to wear the red
I've
shirt
had my
and
tears,
to wear the overalls, because
my
you
share of
understand
losing,
that in that medallion is the
and
blood of our
now,
ancestors. In
as
that
tears
slave,
subside,
in that medallion,
I find
it's years and years of
so
suffering
amusing
and hope for our young people.
to think
People think that the overalls and the red shirt is a joke. But you are wise enough and you knew my father well enough to understand that the red shirt and the overalls means I will speak to the homeless man with as much respect as I do the President of the United States. So I welcome you as my older brother
What has
in
he
this
done?
family.
If not himself, then he has not to do with
Amen. Amen.
Y'all get that. Y'all get that. Get this. Get this.
and not words of one
Amen.
Hi, my name is Ben Stellmacher. I'm the TV talk show host of Issues and Answers. I want my people TV. Free speech ain't free. Help me save people TV.
Brother Stellmacher Williams will be there too. Amen.
Wait. Let me tell y'all this. My mother from Americus, Georgia, her name was Olivia Williams. I want everybody right now to take your point your hand at Dr. King's clip and repeat after me. Dr. King, we're sorry for the violence. And we're gonna make a difference. Dr. King, we know you gave your life. That we would build nonviolence. Dr. King, we're sorry. But we're taking on the challenge now to change the course of America. We want every city, every hamlet, every highway, every byway to respect your dreams. We respect your dreams. And while we got your attention, we want to say thank you, Dr. King. We want to say thank you, Dr. King. We want to say thank you, Dr. King. Even though we haven't voted some of us, we still want to thank you, Dr. King. Some of us, we still want to thank you, Dr. King. And Dr. King, we promise you, we're going to register to vote to carry out your dream. We're going to register to vote and put some real people in place that will respect your dream. Dr. King, thank you. Thank you, Dr. King. Let the church, amen.
All we know about the late Reverend Benford Stellmacher, who we don't get a chance to meet much, is his family. And probably more important than anybody else is his oldest son, Benford Stellmacher Jr., who's joining us now. 42 years old. Sad to meet you under these circumstances.
Yeah.
But what do you feel about your dad now? You've been here for a week or two, listening, talking to folks. What are you hearing about your dad?
I am. It's really been amazing, Maynard. Over these last couple of weeks, I have really seen how influential, how inspiring, and how impactful my father has been, not just in the city of Atlanta, but up and down the East Coast. I literally, just watching some of the footage from the different things that he's done, it's like literally seeing, I guess you could call it, I would call him like the hand of God, and meaning the way that he's touched people's lives. Every single person that we've come in contact with, the one thing that has resounded over and over again is, oh, your father has helped me tremendously. All of the people that he's helped out of situations and different circumstances, and it's just like, man, how could this one man, do all of this?
It's amazing for a man who seemed to be just gregarious and outgoing and colorful.
Correct.
And sometimes even comedic.
Yeah.
Really touched people's lives.
Yeah. I mean, just and the one thing, it's his personality. I mean, and it's funny because there are certain times, and even I live in Hampton, Virginia, Newport News, Virginia, and like
near the great Hampton University.
That's where I graduated from.
Me too.
So I'll hear my voice sometimes, and I'll swear that I'm listening to him. You know, so I would often imitate him. You know, like when I would be talking to young men, and he would, hey, leader, leader, come over here. You know, and it was just.
And you look like him doing it.
Yeah. All my life I've heard, you look, you act, and you sound just like your father.
Wow. That is a compliment to him, but also credit to you as well.
Yeah.
You said this activism is ingrained almost like in your DNA, huh?
Yeah, my grandmother, she was a civil rights activist in her day, Bessie Benford, and we actually read some articles about her. I mean, just in the whole Democratic Party, you know, voter registration, very instrumental in getting people out to the polls to vote. And seeing it transcend even through the family line. Even I can remember when me and my brother Chris were younger, we would actually be on the back of trucks with my father, putting signs in the ground for Martin Luther King III, just for many politicians. You know, one of the things that I used to always say is, man, why can't we have a regular childhood like everybody else? Whenever we would come visit, we lived in the courthouses, going up to jails, and my father stayed helping people on so many plateaus.
I work with the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, and it was always a dynamic when he came into office because he had something to say and he let you know about it. He sit down in my office and, man, I need your help, and you can't say no.
You can't tell him no.
Right. But he also was really a protege and a mentee to one of the late great SCLC warriors, Hosea Williams, Reverend Hosea Williams. Mm-hmm. Did you hear much about that? Because at first I thought he was just portending. He was serious about that.
No, I heard about it several times because on many occasions when I would come down here to Atlanta, I would always see him in the coveralls and the red shirt. And I used to always be like, Daddy, what is with these coveralls and this red shirt? Because I didn't know about, Reverend Hosea Williams. And then he sat me down and was like, let me tell you, son. And he started telling me about him and everything and the medallion. And I said, the one thing that I could always count on was seeing those overalls and that red shirt.
And that medallion.
And that medallion. And it would be so funny because even when I would go to his apartment, I would see so many senior citizens in their little scooters with them overalls on. And I'd be like, oh my God, this dude is a trendsetter, but he did it on purpose. He did it with passion, and it was his heart.
I tell you, a couple of months ago, he made a big thing about he's not wearing no more, changing his attire, looking more conservative. It lasted, I think, maybe 2 weeks, and he said he couldn't take it.
And you know what? I truly believe that came as an extension of a conversation with me.
Okay.
He came to visit me in Virginia, and he actually brought me a motorcycle, a Harley Davidson. And we had a conversation that, because my company, Authentic DNA Studio, it's basically about identity. So I do graphic design, I do, t-shirt design and different things like that. But I also create logos for entrepreneurs and different businesses. And my tagline is, be the you that you are designed to be. And the one thing that I told my father was, I said, the world had Hosea Williams, but the world has never known Benji Stellmacher. I said, so the thing is, now, being the you that you were designed to be, still do the civil rights activism and everything that's included in that, but be you. You don't have to be just like Hosea Williams. And, you can carry on that legacy, but be you, because I wanted him to be known for himself, not, for lack of better words, imitating another man.
But do you think that from what you heard? I don't think that. I think he talked a lot about Hosea Williams, but he was his own unique character, charismatic in his own light. I don't think he mimicked him. I think he idolized him. But that's just my...
And I guess it could be, a consensus between the two. And I guess for me...
That was your dad.
Yeah, I mean, he was my dad, but I guess when I would just kind of see that same thing over and over again, because, I've always been... And even hearing about my father back in the day, I've always been that person. I have my own style, my own swag, the way that I dress, the way that I operate, just myself. and I would always hear about my father, and I respected what he did, but at the same time, I embraced the trueness of my identity. And I think that was one of the things that, I was trying to communicate to him. Not necessarily to stop promoting, all the historical value, all of, the political things and things that he was doing. But I think that, because don't get me wrong, it definitely fueled his passion for what he did. Because every time I would get a phone call, hey, Dad, where you at? I'm in Selma, Alabama. I'm scheduling a march. I'm doing this. I'm doing that, and just constantly on the go. That's all we knew about our father.
But you had a very poignant time with your dad during the second inauguration of President Barack Obama, did you not?
Yes, sir.
Tell us about that.
We actually spent time with him. We went up to D.C., me and my brother, and we actually. Just the whole experience, the subway, just everything through the security lines and the whole 9 yards, and, sitting there with him. And one of the things that he communicated to us was, talking about how just seeing the culmination of everything that my grandma Betty had worked for, that he had worked for, and seeing a black president in office. So seeing all that come together, it meant the world to him.
It's a culmination of all he's been working for.
Exactly. Every time that his foot hit the pavement, that was, that pivotal moment. It was just like, finally, you know what I mean? Just like, this is what it's been all about.
What did it do for you?
It showed me the word. I think it showed me results. I synonymized my father's life with results. He was a man that was about getting results. He got results for people. You know what I mean? So in everything that he did, there was a purpose, there was a passion behind it, but he actually wanted to get results. And the great thing about it was he never wanted recognition for himself. It was just, he was, even though he was that background voice, it was never about him. It was always about whoever he was
he could be
campaigning for.
He could be front and center with his style, with his voice, but you're right, it wasn't necessarily about him. He will be heard, but not necessarily become the center of attention.
Could you imagine, and I just really had this thought, could you imagine if my father had been one of the disciples for Jesus Christ? That would have been bananas. Like literally. Could you imagine him campaigning for Jesus Christ, the Son of the living God? Just all throughout Jerusalem. That would have been hilarious.
That might be where he is right now.
Exactly.
He's found his calling upstairs too.
And even with saying that, that's the thing that resonates in my heart, because I'm very active in my church. I'm very active in my community. And it's a legacy of love, that my father loved people.
You told me something off camera that really struck me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm even a year or two older than your dad, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
But you said your father loved people, but did not love himself enough to take care of himself. Could you talk about that? And people of our age, our ilk, that...
Definitely. One of the last conversations that I had with my dad, I came down here the week of October 5th through the 7th for a ministers conference at World Changers, and we went out and had lunch. And he was sitting at the table, and he was telling me that he had gone in for a prostate biopsy and everything like that. And he said, Dwight, he said, one of the greatest travesties in my life right now is that my family doesn't know about all of my accomplishments. And I said, but here's the thing, Dad. I said, you need to write that stuff down. You need to pin all the things that you've done. All these people that find a way to capture it. But here's the biggest part that I want you to know. I said, the part that bothers me the most is concerning your health. If you leave this earth, everything that you've basically worked for doesn't mean a thing, because you're not here to carry it on. I said, so you have to take the time to take care of yourself. I read a book a while back called Habitudes, and Habitudes had a story in it concerning the starving bread maker. Now, when you hear those two terminologies, it sounds like an oxymoron. You're like a starving bread maker. And this man, and I'll kind of summarize it, but this man opened up a bakery and had the best bread in town. And he was making bread and feeding the masses. But he actually died of starvation. Now, why did he die of starvation? He died of starvation because he was so busy feeding everybody else, but he never took the time to acquire the nourishment from the bread for himself, to sustain himself, to live for himself. And that's what I literally saw happening with my father. My father loved everybody else, would go to bat for everybody else, but he never took the time to nourish himself, whether it was through water, whether it was through just natural health. He was a diabetic. Yeah. You know, and there would be times that we would talk, and even when he was with me, and even when he went to the hospital, his sugar was over 600. And when the nurses told me that, I was just like, God. And it bothered me because I guess I'm the type of person where I work a lot with youth, and I work out, you know. But the thing that I think to myself is, if I have a passion that's this great, I'm going to make sure that I'm around to ensure that passion is fulfilled.
And your legacy is continued.
And my legacy is continued. So for me, that kind of brought everything into a picture the time that I've been here, because I said to myself, and my heart kind of broke actually, because all of the senior citizens that's in his building, the Wheat Street Towers, all the people that I've talked to, all the young men that have, you know, told me, you know, about him clearing up their records, and just in the churches.
Yeah, a lot of folks out of jail did.
Yes, you know, so, and I knew about the business, you know, him expunging people's criminal records and giving them the capacity and the ability to go out to register to vote, to be able to get jobs, to take care of their families.
To start their life anew.
To start their life anew. But the thing was, now, who's there to do that? And to the best of my knowledge, he didn't have a mentee. He didn't have a protege to carry on that legacy. Now, yes, I have my own God assignment, but I'm in Hampton, Virginia. Right. I'm not here in the Atlanta area. So now when I'm listening to the cry of people's hearts, when I hear, man, we can't believe Rev is gone, what I'm truly hearing is not, we can't believe that Rev is gone. It's, I can't believe that my help is gone. Mm-hmm. He was the one that helped so many people that did not either have the ability to help themselves, didn't know how to help themselves, because I guarantee you, you know this, my father was a genius.
Smart man.
He was a very smart man. He knew politics and law inside and out.
He could outthink you, outtalk you.
The whole 9 yards. And it's funny because I find myself, I've always told people, like even at my job, you know, I work in design and different things like that. But I told people, I said, the one thing that when I know something, if you oppose what I know, you're going to have to oppose what I know to the point that you prove me wrong to get me to shut up. Because when I know it, I know it. Like I work processes. So I'm a cradle to grave type person. I will tell you, okay, this is A, B, and C. And if you don't do C, it'll bring you back to A, you know. And so I know how to work the process. But the biggest thing with my dad was, like you said, he could stop a city in a heartbeat.
But he wouldn't stop himself.
But he wouldn't stop himself. Just to get rest. Even, I mean, when he came to visit me in Virginia, I would have to go to work, and I would call him just to check on him. Hey, Dad, what you doing? Man, son, I'm on the bus. He would get on the bus and just ride around the city. He actually applied for a position to be a bus driver in Hampton, Virginia, but he said as soon as they told him that he had to do an agility test, he said, "Nah, son, I'm going back to Atlanta."
That's funny you mentioned bus driver. I didn't know, and many people here in Atlanta didn't know, your father was once a bus driver.
Singing bus driver.
A singing bus driver.
Singing bus driver. And I mean, when I say a singing bus driver, he had articles. There would be people commuters would, I mean, he was that caring type of bus driver from what my uncle told us, and a good friend of the family. You know, his route, you got to keep a schedule.
He would miss
He would actually take time because he knew the people on his route, and he would make sure that they were getting to where they needed to be, even if they were running. Hey, have you seen Charlie? Where's Charlie at? Oh, Ben, he's not coming. You can go ahead. Okay, cool. He cared about people even from when we were younger.
Wow.
So
it's always been a part of it.
It's been a part of his life. Like, even he was a youth minister, and he had youth groups in the church that we grew up in. And he would take people out, and it's funny because that's the thing that I keep hearing about him. It's just like he loved people.
Answer this for me. Everybody called him Reverend Ben Stellmacher. Was he a reverend? I mean, and he wore a collar sometimes.
He was a reverend.
I never knew he just wasn't a church kind of guy.
Yeah, he was a reverend. He was an ordained reverend, and it's so funny because he always had, I guess you could say, in a funny kind of way, my father was a chameleon. and I call him a chameleon person because it's kind of like Paul. He became whatever he needed to be for the people. If he needed to be a reverend, he would be a reverend. If he needed to be a lawyer, he was a lawyer. Whatever he needed to be to get the results, he would be that.
Now that he's gone, he needs our help, does he not?
Yes.
The expenses are overwhelming, I imagine, too.
Yes, right now we're looking at a $3,000 bill for the funeral. And, you know, me and my brother and a couple of other friends, we've been talking, and, you know, what we are asking, you know, the people's help with is, I'm going to be transparent. Sure. So in my mind, I see and I hear all of the help that he's been to the city of Atlanta. So if I was to ask you for $3,000, you might say, hey, Ben, you know what? I don't have $3,000. But if I said, hey, let's get 300 people to give $10, I know my father has helped over 300 people in this city. And let's start from the bottom. I'm talking about from the drug dealer. I'm talking about from the lawyers, from the senators, from the council members, from city council, from city hall, to the judges. Me and my brother, we've been in judges' chambers.
Yeah.
So what I am sincerely asking for is, I'm asking the city of Atlanta to help us bury our father, to help us arrange, to pay for his funeral arrangements,
and send him away properly.
And send him away properly. And I don't think that's too great a task to ask, because when I think about the people that he has saved from going to jail, and you know, it's kind of hard in a sense, because one of the things that I have heard over and repetitively is, my father was not a man of recognition. You know, he never wanted awards. He's turned down this money, turned down that money. And, you know, one of the things that we're kind of looking at even with the funeral is there are so many people that basically want to tell their story and how he's helped them. You know, unfortunately, we don't have enough time in the day. You know, there are not enough pages.
It's going to be a marathon.
Yeah, you know, so me and my brother are having to look at all that. But, you know, we're just sincerely asking for people to basically give out of.
And how do they do that? How best to just look at the camera and tell them how best to help Ben help Ben.
So currently right now I am on Facebook, and you can find me on Facebook at BenfordDwightStellmacher.com on Facebook. We actually have set up a website for my father, so that people can actually send donations directly to me. My P.O. Box is P.O. Box 14133, and that's in Newport News, Virginia.
Newport News.
Yep, 23608. So if somebody wants to send a money order or a check, you can make checks payable to me, Benford Dwight Stellmacher Jr. And we also have on the site is Ben Dwistel, BenDwistel wixsite.com/legacy 10/20/16, which is my father's date of death.
Say that one more time.
So it's Ben Dwistel, BENDWISTEL .wixsite WIXSITE.com/legacy 10/20/16, and we have a way to be able to capture electronic donations through PayPal. So if you go to that site, or if you request me as a friend on Facebook, I accept your friend request, and I've been posting that website on my Facebook timeline.
Your father would be very proud of you, I'm sure. What are your last thoughts about your father? I mean, now that you've seen and heard and been around him even more, I'm sure you've gotten grown closer. I'm sure you've been sad. But as we conclude this little portion of this tribute to your father, what are you thinking?
Honestly, Maynard, the last thing when I was in the hospital with him, I walked over to his bed and I kissed him on the forehead, and I told him, I said, I don't know how many people may have said this. I don't know how many people may have even told him this. But I said, Dad, I want you to know that I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
I'm proud of the man that he was and is, and it will live in the hearts of others.
He was a good man. He was he's quite a character.
And I will say this, even as I look into your eyes, the one thing that I ask you, as well as other black men, take the time to take care of yourself so that everything that God has placed on the inside of you can make a difference in the lives of other people. This is still early for you.
Yeah.
Take the time to impart, to engage with somebody like my age or younger, so that I think about this, I think about it's communicating the different things that you've seen from when you were born, seeing the progress of us as African Americans, just seeing the legacy of love just continue throughout society as a whole. Because guess what? When I look at it, there are people right now on Facebook, like they're looking at some of the documentaries on my father through what we've been posting on Facebook, and they're like, man, I never knew.
Right.
So now when I look at it, I'm like, it's gonna be funny when I get back to work, like, yo, that was your dad? And it's just that namesake, but more importantly, that love that he had. So for me, I don't ever want that to stop. The love that I have for young people, the love that I have for people in general, for me, that authenticity of who he was, it'll never die, just because of the impact and the influence and the inspiration that he's been in people's lives.
And yours. You have the spunk, you have the spirit, you have the style.
Yep.
You also have the DNA.
Yep.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you.
Downtown, 5 Points one day, passing out the flyers for this event. Saw a group of young men. Come here, man. Come here. What's happening, man? Nothing, Dad. I said, when the last time somebody hugged you, man? Oh, no, Dad, I don't play that. I don't play. Come here, man. Give me a hug. And I hugged them. Hugged each one of them. And one of them broke down and cried. He said, man, Dad, I ain't never had a hug from a man. He said, man, thank you, Dad. Thank you. That young man walked away and was pulling up his pants. I mentioned nothing about your pants being down, mentioned nothing about your hair not being combed, mentioned none of that. But he felt better about himself, that he wanted to do something. So, do I want to see this as a national movement? Yeah. But I first of all want to clean up Atlanta. That's where Dr. King was born. And we are supposed to set the example. We are supposed to be the leaders. And that's what I hope that I can bring to fruition. Years ago, I had an interest in somehow or another getting the roller skating into the Olympics. I heard about this TV studio, People's TV, where you can take a class and become a certified producer. So I went over, met with a gentleman by the name of Jay Foster. He explained the program to me, and I took the class. I became a producer. I then went out to Cascade roller skating rink, met with the owner and expressed and explained to him that roller skating was not a part of the Olympics. I figured that because I had roller skated 380 miles for the American Heart Association to demonstrate that roller skating was a healthy means of physical therapy. If you would recall, in 1979, our President Jimmy Carter sent a call out and said, if anybody knows a way to save gas, and that was when we was in the crisis, the fuel crisis, gas lines long. I contacted the White House and I pitched to them, allow me to show that roller skating was a safe means of transportation, and you can do it outdoors, and that it was good on your health. What started this venture was a lady by the name of Midge. She was my roller skating partner every Thursday night, and her mother was having heart complications. She went to a fellow by the name of James Smith, the American Heart Association, located on Collins Street in Hartford, Connecticut. And she was told that the American Heart Association could not help her because the African American community wasn't donors, and that the Jewish community was the greatest supporters of the American Heart Association. So when her daughter came to me and said, Reverend Stellmacher, my mother has a heart problem and we're trying to seek out some kind of help for her. I said, the American Heart Association. She said, oh no, that man over there turned my mother down. I said, who? She told me his name. I immediately went over and had a meeting with him. He said, Reverend, this is not about discrimination. This is not about racism. It's about money. He said, the African American community has not been great contributors to the American Heart Association. Therefore, we don't have the funds to reach out to that community. I said, hold it. What would you think about if I roller skated to Washington, D.C., for the American Heart Association, contact the President of the United States, and ask if he would receive a pair of roller skates to skate, to show that skating is a means of transportation and that it pumps the heart up and for physical therapy. And I would ask 15 cents a mile, which I believe that comes to around $15 per person that would donate. He said, we would be all for it. So there I go, contacting the White House, contacting my congressperson, contacting the, AAA that would route my trip, contacting the news media. And here everybody thought I had lost my mind. How are you gonna live on roller skates 5 days and 5 nights? I said, you need to ask God. God gave me this idea, and if he brought me to it, he could bring me through it. So I talked to these 3 fellas. There was Hector Martinez, who was a Spanish gentleman representing the Spanish community. Talked to Sid Watkins, who would ride one of the 10-speed bikes. Talked to Jeffrey Pounds, who would be our media person that would go ahead and contact the media. And we had our luggage on these 2 10-speed bikes. Well, the Hartford Current said, wait. We don't believe you can roller skate. We just don't believe that can be done. Send a reporter. They sent with us Howard Sherman. We started our trek headed to Washington, D.C. We knew that we had to skate 75 miles every day. The first day was the worst day of my life. Never took a car to ride the route out to see the terrain, never did that. Practiced 5 days prior to the trip skating to Barkhamsted, up and down hills, mountains, and all that. Let's get started, fellas. So, John Sablon and Brad Davis, 2 of our local TV persons, they interviewed us, and we started at Bushnell Park. We invited the whole community. And we made it very clear that we were raising money for the black community because this community was being neglected because lack of funds by the Heart Association. So we kicked it off. We started skating. We got as far as, I want to say, what's the name of that town? Right outside of New Haven, Connecticut. That was our first 75 miles. They put us up in hotels. Oh, that first go around was just creamy, peachy and creamy. Even though my ankles were swollen, pain, skin being torn by the leather on the skates, made me think, do I really want to do this? Can I really do this? There was so much pain. And we stopped at the Holiday Inn, who had given us our first night free. We were scheduled to stop in various towns, and the kids would be out there, and we would do a show. And each jurisdiction of the American Heart Association, they would raise the money, and we thought all the money was coming back to Hartford. No, it stayed in that jurisdiction. We didn't know that until the end. So we got as far as, we went through New York, had a couple of challenges there, a couple of big old trucks tried to run us off the road. And there was a team of trucks through their CB radios. They gave us a motorcade that took us across the Brooklyn Bridge. We got across the Brooklyn Bridge. Now we are in New Jersey. Skating in New Jersey was fine, painful, fine, raining, but we were determined. We got there to New Jersey, and we stayed over every 75 miles. Well, here come the hard one, Rising Sun, Maryland. They said to us, you niggers are not coming through our town. We'll kill you. So Howard Sherman, the reporter, he relayed that to me from the sheriff. I said to the sheriff, I promised the people of Hartford, Connecticut, that I was going to roller skate, live or die. Howard Sherman came to me and said, Ben, you cannot go down there. There's 40-something white men, sticks, bottles, bricks, rocks. You can't go. I said, Howard, I'm going to roller skate. I said, fellas, and I looked back at the fellas. They had the bikes on the top of the car. They had gotten into Howard Sherman's car, locked the doors, and they was beckoning for me. Please, no, come on, Stella. We're not skating. I said, I'm skating. So I looked down at the crowd, figured it out. The sheriff came, I'll never forget, little short sheriff. He said, sir, you can't go down there. Them guys down there, they're going to kill you. And I can't be responsible. I said, Sheriff, thank you, but I'm skating. And I took off skating. Fortunately about this, it was downhill. And I got my speed up, and they were lined across the street, and they closed in on me. And they beat the brakes off of me. They beat me down. They kicked, they stopped, and I finally got enough strength up to get up and just start skating. Some of them ran and chased me. We got to a building down this road because our route was Route 1 all the way from Hartford, Connecticut to Washington, D.C. We got to this building about 8 miles out. I stopped and said, Howard, I can't go no further. Please, Howard, go in this building and get some towels, wet cloths or something. Look at this blood on me. He said, okay, wait out here, Stellmacher. So I sat on the ledge. Howard Sherman came out. He said, skate, Stellmacher, skate. Get up and skate, Stellmacher. Please skate, Stellmacher. So I just started skating. I got about 3 miles down the road. I said, Howard, what in the hell is going on? He said, Stellmacher, we were at the Ku Klux Klan headquarters, and that was not a safe place to be. So I said, well, let me get up and skate a little further. So we got to Washington, D.C. We began to celebrate because we made it. I cut my hand because we had a champagne glass. But anyway, we were late getting to the White House. President Carter was there at the, I want to say the north wing or northwest wing to receive us. But they told us we had to be there by 4:30 because the president was going to Camp David. We got there in time enough for him to wave to us on the helicopter, and my Congressman Stuart McKinney, he received the skates for the White House. Big ceremony, big to do. Came back to Hartford. We had a welcoming. And I got interested in roller skating because we raised, I believe, something like $4.1 million throughout the whole skating trip. But none of it hardly came back to Hartford. So we went on, had the reception when we got back, and I said, there's no roller skating in the Olympics. Why don't I try to do something about getting roller skating in the Olympics? So started on that journey. I was contacted by the United Skates of America Museum in Lincoln, Nebraska. There they inducted me as the first African-American roller skater to be inducted in that museum. I was grateful for that. So I haven't forgot that we're getting to People's TV and how I got involved there. I needed a platform. I needed a place to spread the word, send the word out. Roller skaters let's get it in the Olympics. So People TV, I heard, was a public access TV station that you could use to get the word out, to do this, do that. And I met John Foster, as I said earlier, and I became a certified producer. Immediately, I got some friends, and we went over to Cascade, and we started filming roller skating. And I would go over and interview roller skaters and talk to them about the Olympics and would they be interested. And the name of my show for roller skating was The Holy Roller. The Holy Roller. We wanted to find holy rollers. So that TV aired once a week. And what we would do, we would have competitions, and whoever won the competitions, they would be featured on the TV show. So that lasted for a while. We contacted the Olympics, we contacted the Roller Skate of America magazine, and it just didn't get to go nowhere. So we backed up off of that. By that time, I had become a civil rights activist with a fellow by the name of James Orange and Jose Williams. Jose Williams was the kind of guy that didn't care about hurting your feelings, didn't care about cussing you out, didn't care about none of that. So People TV gave me the opportunity to have a TV show where I could bring information to the black community. This medallion represents registering to vote 63,636 people, and V103 radio station for 4 years. Every Wednesday morning, we went to 5 Points and registered voters. My signature is on 63,636 applications. The gentleman by the name of James Orange, who was Martin Luther King's right-hand man, foot soldier, I kept asking him, how do I earn one of these? How do I earn one of these? You got a long way to go. Well, when I registered all these voters, I thought, hey, I got this now. He still told me no. It took me 12 years to earn this. And I'll never forget Dr. King's birthday. We marched, and after every march, Lakeside Band would come to the Civic Center and close out that evening. So I'm helping Lakeside. James Orange told me, you need to help them with the band, da-da-da. So James Orange said, Stellmacher, somebody get Stellmacher. So they came to get me, and they said, Stellmacher, James Orange wants you. I say, tell James he told me to do this, help the band. Stellmacher, James Orange said, come to the stage right now. I said, you tell James Orange I'm still helping the band get set up. So James Orange looked around the corner. He said, Stellmacher. I said, come here. So I came up. He said, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce you to a hard-working young man that's been in the movement now 15 years. And he's bugged me for 12 years about receiving a medallion. Right then and there, this is my day to get this medallion. He said, Stellmacher, I want to tell you, you finally earned your medallion. I dropped to my knees and I started crying. He said, oh my God, no, let me have it. If I knew you was going to be this ugly and crying, I never would have promised you this medallion. So I received this medallion for the work in the civil rights movement. And that's when I learned, by registering all these people to vote, that's when I learned that the majority of African American men could not read and could not write. You know how you go to the grocery store and the people are sitting there at the table and they say, "Excuse me, sir, are you registered to vote? Excuse me, sir." And people would just say yes to keep from being embarrassed. So what I did, I went and got an ironing board. Stood outside of the curb market on Auburn Avenue. And I would call men and women, "Excuse me, let me get your name. What's your address? Your city and state, what's your phone number? Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear the information you just gave me is the truth, the whole truth, help me God? Sign your name on this. Hey, wait, what? I said, "Sir, you just registered to vote." You would be surprised the number of men that started crying and saying thank you, because I was too embarrassed to say that I can't read and write. So there you saw Stellmacher and his ironing board all over the city. Ironing board was very light to carry. Then I got other volunteers to carry ironing boards. Don't ask nobody, "Are you registered to vote?" Ask them, "Sir, may I get your name? May I get your address? May I get your phone number? May I get..." And the numbers started building, registering voters. Let me go to the side just for 1 minute, because this is great. My son used to visit me in Virginia. And when they would come, I would always be tied up in the Democratic meetings, Democratic Party, Democratic this, Democratic that. And my son just got frustrated. He said, "Daddy, we never get a chance to spend no time with you. You're always in these meetings. You're always..." And I felt bad. My son and I stood together, both my sons, and I stood together at the inauguration. And I'm like, I get choked up here. And my son looked at me and he said, "Daddy, I'm sorry." He said, "I didn't know that all these meetings that you were going to was working for us to have a black president." And me and my son, that was the greatest day of my life. Because I had so much guilt in me about not being with my son when they were there visiting me. And for him to finally recognize and realize what I was working for and working toward was $1 million prize. Okay, let me wipe up. Then People TV gave me an opportunity to give information to the black community. And I talked about white folks, freedom of speech. I talked about how bad they would do us. I talked about gentrification, how they did Auburn Avenue. I talked about the mayor of the city. I talked about the elected officials, how low down, lazy, no good they were. And People TV gave me the opportunity to just express what I was really feeling. It helped me to change my views on white people. It helped me to change my views on black people. It helped me to get a reaction from the community. Or I talked about the elected officials. And I didn't give a damn. Oh, I'm Reverend Stellmacher. But I was so frustrated, so just because, see, what black folks didn't realize, by electing your official, by voting, by registering to vote, you became powerful. For instance, your water gonna be cut off? Your city council person controls the city water. So you go to your city council person and say, I just can't afford this water bill. Your city council person will call the water department and would make it so your water wouldn't be cut off. But if you wasn't a registered voter, you couldn't get that kind of service. Your electricity, controlled by Georgia Power. The Public Service Commission, who are elected, when you contact them, they contact Georgia Power, and then Georgia Power, because Georgia Power depends on the Public Service Commissioners to vote on their budget. Do you think that they're going to say no to that commissioner about keeping your lights on? Hell no. We registered to vote in big numbers, but we never came to realize the power that registering to vote gave us. So here, People TV gave me the opportunity to educate, to give people answers. And that became the name of my show, Issues and Answers. I remember a lady moved here from Detroit, and she had 2 twin daughters, and she was having a problem finding a school for them. And she came on my show. And when she came on my show, I pulled out all of these cards. Let me just show you. It's in this pocket. I pulled out all of these cards right there on the stage, and I said to her, I said, wait a minute, let me go through my library and see if we can find you somebody. And I spread all the cards out on the stage. I came up with a card for the Board of Education. And she contacted that elected official on the Board of Education. Her daughters was put in a magnet program. She had an issue. We found her the answer. Her daughters graduated top of the class because we were able to find her a school that could feed them the information that they needed to grow by. Now, issues and answers. The issue was this young man, he had got into a shootout. His partner got shot, and I think his partner died, and he had come to rescue his partner, and they got into a big shootout. And this young man was facing 20 years in prison. Somebody came to me and told me about him and all that had happened, and he had a serious issue because he was going to jail for a long time. So I went over to the jail, met with the young man, talked to him. We met several times, and I went to court. And I said to Judge Dempsey, I said, Judge Dempsey, if you give me this young man, I'll change him. I'll show you that the prison system is not working. I said, but if you do give him to me, it is requested that you order him today to go with me to North Carolina to the Democratic Convention. Judge Dempsey said it was hereby ordered. This man had gotten his case down 10 to 3 years. His attorney, top attorney in Atlanta, many of you know him, David Wolf, came out of the court. Well, I worked the deal out for you 10 to 3. I said, no, Attorney Wolf, he's not going to do a day in jail. All I want you to do is allow me to speak before the judge. The judge honored my request, put him in my program, and we went to Washington, D.C. That young man who had never been outside of the 30318 zip code, which is the highest crime rate in this city, he never been outside the community. All he knew was drugs, shootings, those kinds of things. And that young man went with me. He met Andrew Young. He met Congressman John Lewis. He met Al Sharpton. He met all of these people that he said he thought he would never, ever meet. He came back and he was on fire, and he started the organization called Young Generation Movement. And you can look them up, www.younggenerationmovement.org. This young man right today now is going into the gangs and pulling young people out of the gangs, cleaning up neighborhoods, having gun buybacks. He went back before the judge. The judge gave him first offenders treatment, and that's where I was today with that young man at the GBI. His record is clean. His record is clear because of issues and answers. I refuse to give up. People TV have given me a platform and have given me an opportunity to rescue those who are lost. It has given me an opportunity to reach out. There's a whole host of people who have received a lot of information from other shows on People TV, not just my show. And I encourage anybody under the sound of my voice listening to me that if you got a message, if you want to take a stand, and you want to have available to you the freedom of speech, People TV is what's happening. You can say what you feel. None of your words will be edited. I recall some challenges. They're now talking about Confederate flag coming down. I went out to Westview Cemetery, where the Confederate flags fly very proudly over black African Americans who are not allowed to have headstones. That flag flies on Martin Luther King and Ralph David Abernathy. And I stayed out there and picketed and protested, and the flag still flies out there. Now they're talking about taking it down. I even recall SCLC president at that time, Isaac Ferris, telling me, Reverend Stellmacher, while you're out there picking the flag, please don't mention the SCLC. Now the SCLC is one of the front runners trying to get the flag down. I am so grateful for People's TV allowing people who have a message, people who have a yearning to have a voice. You can have a voice having a show on People TV. Because of my show, when I go to city council meetings, I'm able to have all those council people listening, because there was a time I laid down on the floor to get my point across. There was a time that I invite them to the TV show and tell them just like I feel. And one time, one of the guests said, I don't have to take this. I don't have to be on the show. I said, well, get your out of here then. And he snatched the mic off. And I was so glad that I got to him. I was so glad the public seen him. I was so glad what we was fussing about, he then learned that he was just wrong. When you tell me and talk about People TV, you talk about something that's dear to me. I even raised hell with black people on my TV show, telling them that all you got to do is go to Kroger, sign up, Go online or go to Kroger, sign up, and every time you spend $1, a percentage of that dollar goes to People TV. I even talked about how when they were getting ready to shut People TV down, a lot of people don't know the history of cable TV and how Maynard Jackson started and told these cable networks, if you're going to come into this city and dig underground and tear up our streets, then you're going to have to give something back to the community. And that's how cable TV got started. Shirley Franklin, the mayor, was the one that undid his dream of us always having and making these cable networks pay. Because they're the one charging us an arm and a leg, tearing up our streets, going up on our poles. Now you know what they pay? Nothing. Getting away with highway robbery. But People TV allowed me to be able to tell a story. And those of you who listening to me and you got cable, you ought to cut it off. You ought to cut it off. Don't pay that $300-400. Cut it off, and if enough of us come together and say, listen, Comcast, we cutting you off if you can't give us some money to People TV. The only reason why Dr. King was successful because he took direct action. He boycotted. He picketed. I remember one time when I wanted to test it for myself. How strong is a boycott? I went to a gas station on the corner of Bankhead Highway and Hightower, Chevron gas station. And I paid for $10 worth of gas and went to pump the gas, and the pump wasn't working. They didn't turn it on. So I went to the window and knocked on the window. I said, pump number 6. And the guy inside gave me a bird. And I went to the window. I said, he said, shut up. So I went in the store. I said, sir, I paid for $10. Nigger, get out of my store. Nigger? Oh, no, he didn't. I went to the dumpster and got a piece of cardboard. I went to the florist next door and got a magic marker. And I said, boycott. He called me a nigger. And I picketed him for 3 days, 3 nights, didn't go home, didn't shower, and it got to become a ghost town. And he came out, he said, please, what are you doing? They called the police on him, but I was in my rights to picket on the sidewalk. The police told him, said he's within his rights. The police came to me and said, could you just take the word nigger off of your sign because you are possibly inciting a riot? I said, okay. But I stayed there and we asked every motorist, don't buy your gas here. Don't buy your gas here. So after 3 days, it was ghost town and they were losing money big time because it was a very busy gas station. He came out and asked me, what could I do? What could he do to stop me from picketing? I said, you could take a $5,000 check down to the Boys Club on Bankhead and support that organization for our young children. And until you do that, I'm not going to stop picketing. Picketed another day. He said, I give. I'm so sorry. I never call nobody nigger. Never no more. I said, I know you ain't. He wrote the check out to the Boys Club, and I gave the check to the lieutenant and asked him, would he deliver it? And he delivered it down there, and they came back to me and said he did it. I took my gear, folded it up. But you best believe, I don't think he never called nobody else a nigger. You best believe that he recognized the power of boycott, which I took on 3 other gas stations. But my main point is People TV afforded me that opportunity to make these people know that there is power in the media. You have a voice. You have a loud voice. I don't even think about the number of times my life has been threatened. I don't even think about being cursed out by people that don't like my show. I don't even think about when I was kicked off the show, made some mistakes. All I know is that People TV have allowed me to put out enough information that when people see me in the streets, I have old ladies that come and hug my neck and say, Reverend Stellmacher, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have knew to go to my congressman to get my Social Security straightened out. People have come to me and said, Reverend Stellmacher, you just would not realize you talking to my son on TV has changed his life around. Reverend Stellmacher, you would not believe the number of jobs I have been able to get just by listening to your show and going to those places that you have told me to go. So, what is People TV to me? It's a heavenly medium for a voice for the people, for the powerless, for the poor, for the shut-in. People TV, you will never believe what it has done and what it will do and what it's going to do in the future. But we must keep it alive. And any thought, any person, any politician that would give the inkling of a thought of shutting People TV down, we will run you out of this town. God bless you. Heaven smile upon you. And become a donor to People TV.
We are the people of People TV.
And I'm here to tell you that free speech ain't free.
And I learned that if you say something, then you give them information.
With People TV, the masses can get their point out.
My plan B was just that, hand-to-hand combat.
As an artist, I don't like to be told what to do, especially when it concerns my creative process.
The key is it's going to give you that vehicle.
People TV affords everyday people the opportunity to express themselves. In fact, People TV enables the community to define itself.
How far we take it, how much we recognize it, that's on us.
People say you should be on network TV. No, I don't want to be on network. Where I'm at, I think, is where I'm supposed to be. Right with the community, no commercials on People TV, access television, truth, basically, and do your thing.
Help save People TV.
Downtown, 5 Points one day, passing out the flyers for this event. Saw a group of young men. Come here, man. Come here. What's happening, man? Nothing, Dad. I said, when the last time somebody hugged you, man? Oh, no, Dad, I don't play that. I don't play that. Come here, man. Give me a hug. And I hugged them. Hugged each one of them. And one of them broke down and cried. He said, man, Dad, I ain't never had a hug from a man. He said, man, thank you, Dad. Thank you. That young man walked away and was pulling up his pants. I mentioned nothing about your pants being down, mentioned nothing about your hair not being combed, mentioned none of that. But he felt better about himself that he wanted to do something. So, do I want to see this as a national movement? Yeah. But I first of all want to clean up Atlanta. That's where Dr. King was born. And we are supposed to set the example. We are supposed to be the leaders. And that's what I hope that I can bring to fruition. I've caused a problem today. I've caused a problem. Yeah, I disobeyed the law by speeding. And I don't know if I'm going to jail. I don't know. The car is not registered properly. And everything has just went wrong. Yeah.
Where do you want to?
The people are we're gonna walk over here now, and we're gonna line the people up.
Okay.
We're gonna stay in that first lane, close to the curb.
Right.
Once all of us get kicked off, then the hearse. The first item in the line will be that boxing ring. The second item in line will be the horse with the carriage. Okay? I went from the morgue to the champion, Dr. Martin Luther King. The morgue had a lot of significance in this march, and that was too many people are going to the morgue that's just off the chain.
Come on with the boxing ring. Come with the boxing ring now.
The boxing rink had several meanings. First of all, the boxing rink is a place of violence. I mean, real serious violence. You get in there, you got to fight your way out of there. But it also is a place that can be used to negotiate. If you got a problem with somebody, you step in the ring and they step in the ring, you got a choice. We can talk about it or we can fight it out. But at least we both are coming out. With that gun, somebody ain't going home.
Everybody out the way.
The hearse, 20 hearses in the parade, the march, was to show people before they take this last ride that this is your last ride.
More involved with doing something positive.
Absolutely, I'm with
Instead
you
of
all
just
day
going
long.
home and being on the street corner. So back in the day, there was activities for kids to do. And right now, we are not doing that.
Well,
and we've got to start back. We've got to start back.
I agree.
You know, it's critical. So we have to start back.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I need you. Hold on. Yes, sir. He get here, go up front. Yes, sir. Tell him to stop. Tell him to stop. Stop. We got to keep moving. We need you to get it moving.
Go tell your neighbor, time is winding up. Go tell your neighbor, time is winding up. So much corruption in this land. The people taking a stand. Time is winding up. Time, oh, time is winding up. Time, oh, time is winding up. So much corruption in this land. The people taking a stand. Time corruption in this land. The people take the stand. And we want enough. Go tell the mayor, time is winding up. Go tell the mayor, time is winding up.
Violence must stop in Atlanta. Violence, black on black killings must stop. Numbers are too high. And we're saddened by all of the innocent people who are being killed. We must raise the level of consciousness that Martin, if he was here, he would really be sad. Ladies and gentlemen,
We don't need
No.
to have you. No, you're getting huffing and puffing.
I'm getting a wheelchair. I'm getting in a wheelchair. Thank you. It's a must that I stay out here with you. Bishop, what do you feel about black on black crime in our city? What do you think we can do? This is just the beginning, but how do you feel about it?
Well, I think the biggest problem is that I don't think we're ever going to be able to stop the decrease of the violence of black lives until we find a way to increase how we value black lives.
Okay.
We don't value our lives. They don't value their lives. And when you find people who don't value their lives, it's difficult for them to value yours. So they're taking lives as if there's nothing because of the lack of value.
Okay.
And I think one of the reasons why a lot of times they don't value lives is because, it's because of the degradation, the pain that they've experienced and engaged. They haven't learned how to transform pain into power.
Do you think the church is ready for an explosion of stopping this violence?
Well, I think that the main issue is this. When you ask if the churches are ready, I think that the main thought should be that everybody has to accept the fact that we can't change it until we confront it. Okay. And right now, people want to have change without confrontation, and it won't happen like that.
Brother Omalami?
Yes, sir.
Could you step up? I want to talk to you.
Yes, sir.
Tell us, how do you feel about the pain and the agony of black on black crime? And what do you see that we can do about this?
I believe in the cries of our ancestors coming out in the midnight. This is not what they gave their lives for, because they could have easily have taken their own lives with the brutality and insanity they suffered. We owe it to them to fight and walk this thing through, because they gave so much for us to, you and me, be just going down the street today without having our heads beat in and shot up and lynched right out here today. We have an obligation. We have to see this through. It's not even an option. We got to get out of the church. We got to put feet on the street, under the bridge. We have to go and deal with the disinherited, the disenfranchised that the movement was built off of, but we've left that path and gone a different way. What do we expect but this? There's no other answer but what we're getting right now. We have to take some responsibility and not be like Pilate, wipe the blood off our hands like we don't have anything to do with why our communities are full of blood. Bishop, it is on us.
Jeremy, you're one of the youngest board members of the SCLC. Tell me about SCLC's position with the black on black crime.
Well, I feel just like, if anything, let me start by saying this, that 59 years ago on today, SCLC was founded in New Orleans. And as a result, we built our mantra off a motto that was repeated throughout the decades to redeem the soul of America. Now we're at a more critical pattern, 60 plus years after the beginnings of the Civil Rights Movement, knowing now that the battles that we fought against Bull Connor, the battles that we fought against Jim Clark, now we fighting these same battles against Donald Trump. We fighting these same battles against those that want to turn back the clock on what we've done and the accomplishments that have been made. But I think among ourselves that somehow we lost the level of respect for each other. I think we lost the level of respect in some ways, in aspect of the merging of the old school mixed with the new school. And thank goodness I was one of the young ones to be raised under that old school generation, just like Brother Malami just stated. Hosea Williams was my mentor. Coretta Scott King was my mentor. And for those that might, in these neighborhoods in our cities, that don't have anyone to look on to, our position at SCLC is that it doesn't take just one group of individuals to solve this problem. It's going to have to take all of us because all of our issues are interconnected.